All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to build your financial literacy completely from the ground up. And we're going to do that by answering one seemingly simple question that really forms the bedrock of all economics. What exactly is money? I mean, it's something we earn, we spend, and we stress over every single day, right? Yet, very few people can actually define it. So let's dive right in and demystify the absolute foundation of finance.
But before we can truly understand how money works, we need to do a really fascinating thought experiment. I want you to figure out how you would survive in a world where money simply didn't exist at all. No coins, no paper notes, no credit cards, no digital banking, nothing. If you needed something, how would you actually go about getting it?
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at a world without money, the three functions of money, what makes good money, trust and digital money, and finally, why money is not wealth.
Part 1. A world without money and the barter problem.
Let's step back in time for a second, into a system where you have to trade directly for everything you need. This direct trade system is what we call barter. Under a barter system, you aren't buying things, you're swapping for them. So let's say you grow wheat, but you need a new pair of shoes. You have to go out and find a shoemaker who specifically wants your wheat. And as you might guess, that creates a pretty massive logistical headache.
Because think about it. If that shoemaker doesn't want your wheat, you can't just make the trade. Instead, you're forced into this incredibly frustrating chain of transactions just to get what you need. You might have to trade your wheat for eggs, then go find someone to trade those eggs for cloth, and then finally trade that cloth with the shoemaker for your shoes. It really highlights a severe inefficiency in how early humans did business.
Now, economists actually have a fancy name for this specific problem, the double coincidence of wants. Basically, for a smooth trade to happen, both people have to want exactly what the other person has at the exact same time. It makes transactions incredibly difficult. It's kind of like walking into an electronics store today and trying to buy a modern laptop using a few bags of rice. It just doesn't work. Which brings us to Section 2, the three functions of money, which is the solution. To solve all that immense friction and frustration of the barter system, human societies naturally evolved a highly specific tool to fix the problem, and that tool is money. So what is it? Well, the definition is actually surprisingly simple. Money is just anything that is widely accepted as payment for goods and services. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that money isn't inherently valuable because of what it is. It's valuable purely because people accept it in exchange for things they actually want. And this widespread acceptance is what allows money to perform three very specific, essential functions in our everyday lives. Whenever you use money, you're relying on one of these three pillars. First up, it acts as a medium of exchange. This means it dramatically simplifies commerce by perfectly cutting out the middleman in our whole wheat for shoes barter nightmare. Instead of trading goods directly, you just trade your goods or your labor for money, and then you use that universally accepted money to buy whatever you want. Simple.
Second, money acts as a store of value, which basically means you can work today, save your earnings, and spend them tomorrow, next month, or even next year. This obviously wouldn't work if you were paid in something that spoils quickly, right? Like if your salary was paid in bananas, your purchasing power would literally rot away in a week. Money preserves your hard work for the future.
And third, it acts as a unit of account. It creates a common language for value. Without it, we'd be living in a super confusing world where, a TV costs 3 chickens, a bicycle costs 2 sacks of wheat, and a smartphone costs 15 fish. Comparing prices would be impossible. Money ensures that everything is measured using the exact same standard.
All right. Section 3. What makes good money? The rules of currency. Throughout history, humans have actually tried using all sorts of weird and wonderful things as money. We're talking shells, salt, copper, even giant stone discs. But this brings up a really interesting question. Why do certain things become widely accepted as currency, while other things, like, say, sand, completely fail? Well, there are strict rules that dictate what makes good money.
For something to actually work as money, it has to be portable, divisible, durable, scarce, and widely accepted. Gold succeeded historically because it ticks all these boxes perfectly. Bananas fail because, well, they aren't durable. And sand fails miserably because it isn't scarce. Think about it. If sand were money, everyone could just scoop up unlimited wealth from the beach, and it would instantly lose all its value. Moving on to Section 4, trust and digital money in the modern era. So while gold was great for a while, carrying around heavy metal eventually became really inconvenient and honestly dangerous. So societies developed paper money, which originally just represented a physical claim on precious metals safely stored in a vault somewhere. But here's a reality most people don't realize. Today, our modern currencies are what we call fiat money. This means your paper bills are no longer backed by gold or silver at all. Instead, they derive their value purely because the government declares them legal tender and because people trust them. Because without that trust, a paper banknote is literally just a worthless piece of paper with a nice drawing on it. The entire modern financial system functions simply because we all collectively believe it works. You accept it because you trust your grocery store will accept it, and they accept it because they trust their suppliers will. It's this vast, beautiful web of human trust. And this trust is incredibly powerful, especially today in the digital age. When your salary arrives in your bank account or you swipe a payment app to buy a coffee, physical cash rarely ever moves. The vast majority of money today exists simply as digital records updating inside global banking computers.
Finally, Section 5. Money is not wealth, a crucial distinction.
As we wrap up this foundation, we absolutely have to shatter a huge misconception: the dangerous idea that money and wealth are the exact same thing. They are not. Money is simply the tool we use to facilitate exchange. It's the measuring stick. Actual wealth, on the other hand, consists of real productive resources. We're talking about things like houses, cars, food, businesses, and valuable assets.
Let's look at a really practical scenario. Imagine a small island with exactly 10 houses, 10 cars, and enough food for everyone. Now, imagine the island's government magically doubles the amount of money in everyone's bank account. Has the island suddenly become twice as wealthy? No, definitely not. There are still only 10 houses and 10 cars.
Printing more money doesn't miraculously create more resources or true wealth. It just means there's now more money chasing the exact same limited amount of goods. And when that happens, the prices of those limited resources will inevitably go up to balance things out.
And honestly, that profound realization perfectly tees up our next explainer. Because if printing money just drives up prices, it leaves us with a critical, fascinating question to explore. How and why does money lose its value over time? What exactly is inflation? Well, now that you fundamentally understand what money is, you are totally ready to tackle that next big economic puzzle. Keep this foundation in mind, and I'll see you in the next explainer.